So since BigQuery is an append-only database, meaning new rows only get added at the end of it, generally, there's some ways to delete and update databases, but generally, new rows will get added to the end. So if you're using a tool like Stitch to push data into a BigQuery dataset, they'll push new data for every day that comes in, but there's no guarantee that that data doesn't contain duplicates, right? It could, the look back window could be such that it's duplicating data for multiple days. So just to be safe, generally when you're using data that's piped into BigQuery from some API or some other tool like Google Analytics, whatever it is, you want to deduplicate that data based on whatever level of granularity you have. So to do that, you can use window functions, and you can say use functions like last value or first value. I prefer first value for whatever reason. For a given metric, for a given dimension, to say what was the first value across this level of granularity that was entered, or the last value, the most recent value. Give me that value, and then let's pull, basically let's deduplicate against that unique key that we want to look up for. So let me just show you an example. So say we wanted to, our level of granularity was channel grouping, right? Say there was only one row of data per channel grouping for each date. So rather than, let's say these organic search hits, these were all duplicates. For whatever reason, let's say these are duplicates. We only want the most recent one from each channel grouping. So the way we could do that, so let's say first value, visit start time, over, and then here's our window. We're going to partition by channel grouping, order by, and so if you're using a first value or last value function, you remember for like sum or max, we don't need order by because you're just taking doing the overall math. But if you want like an order like first or last, you need to order by a certain column. So we're going to order by visit start time descending. So the first one that we pick will actually be the last one. That's a little confusing, but let's call that column last value. And then when we run it, let's just order this by visit start time so that we know ordered by channel grouping, ascending, visit start time, descending, so we know we have the most recent. Cool. So this is our last value, is this visit start time. This is the latest one that we have for affiliates. If you go through, you'll see that these are in descending order. All of these are lower than the last value. So say we wanted to, again, we're looking at what if there's only one row per each channel grouping and wanted to filter out all the rows that weren't the latest one that got entered. So what we'll need to do there is we can basically wrap this function in this query in some logic, and we can say pull everything, select star from this query where the visit start time, so the actual visit start time for the row is equal to the last value for the window. So then we'll use our window function value. So we'll say visit start time equals the window, and let's also say order by channel grouping ascending, so we can just see how this shakes out. So you'll see now we only have one row for affiliates, and that visit start time equals the last value. So we've basically deduped, and now we only have 7 rows, one for each channel. So this is assuming that we have one Google Analytics row per channel grouping per day, and that's our granularity. We're basically using this first value window function. Let's highlight that here. Partitioning by the channel grouping, ordering by the start time descending to pick out our last value, and then we're filtering when does our last value equals for the window equal the actual visit start time. So that's a really common pattern that you'll want to use for deduping data in BigQuery. It's one of the handiest uses of these analytic or window functions that calculate a metric across an entire window of data rather than just the row you're looking at. And yeah, pretty much for any ETL tool that we're using, whether it's Stitch or Supermetrics or whatever it is, we use some variation of this window function to process the data before we do anything else, because we want to make sure we're always working with dedupe data. Hope that helps. Take care, guys.